In the years that followed, Borley Rectory became a hotbed of supernatural activity, drawing the curious and the skeptical alike. Reports of ghostly apparitions, strange sounds, and unexplained phenomena flooded in. The sightings varied from phantom footsteps echoing through empty halls to ghostly figures flitting past windows, evoking both fear and fascination. Among the most haunting of these occurrences was the spectral nun, first seen by Henry Bull's daughters. The girls described the figure as dressed in a flowing black habit, her face obscured by the hood. Each time they tried to approach her, she would vanish into thin air, leaving behind only the chilling sensation of her presence. This led many to speculate about the nun's identity, with some believing she was the spirit of a nun who had been buried nearby, while others thought she might be connected to a tragic love story involving a priest. As the years went on, the activity intensified. Reports from guests and local residents described hearing disembodied voices, the sound of a bell ringing, and the heavy footsteps of a man walking through the corridors. Some claimed to have felt a cold breath on their necks or seen doors slamming shut without a soul in sight. In 1929, paranormal investigator Harry Price took a keen interest in the rectory, determined to uncover the truth behind its reputation. He moved in with a team of observers, conducting extensive investigations that included seances, recordings of unexplained phenomena, and even inviting members of the press to witness the activity firsthand. His findings were both thrilling and perplexing. Despite the documentation of numerous strange events, skepticism lingered. Critics dismissed many of Price's claims as fabrications or the product of suggestible minds. Nevertheless, his work brought the rectory to national attention, solidifying its status as one of the most haunted locations in England. In 1939, after the rectory was deemed structurally unsafe, it was demolished. Yet, even after its destruction, reports of paranormal activity continued. Residents nearby claimed to feel an uneasy presence in the area, and some even claimed to see the ghostly nun wandering through the nearby woods, forever linked to the haunting legacy of Borley Rectory. The mystery of Borley Rectory remains unsolved, but its tales of ghostly encounters have left an indelible mark on the world of the paranormal, inviting countless investigations and stories that captivate those fascinated by the unexplained. To this day, it serves as a reminder that some mysteries may never truly be unraveled, lingering in the shadows of our imagination. As the remnants of Borley Rectory lay scattered among the ruins, whispers of its ghostly inhabitants continued to swirl through the nearby village. Paranormal enthusiasts flocked to the site, eager to capture any lingering echoes of the past. Local lore spoke of a mysterious energy surrounding the area, as if the very earth was saturated with the history of the rectory and its spectral residents. One particularly curious group of investigators, led by a young woman named Clara, decided to spend the night at the ruins, hoping to connect with the spirits that had made Borley Rectory famous. Clara was a skeptic at heart but felt drawn to the stories of the nun and the tragic history that surrounded the place. Armed with cameras, EVP recorders, and an assortment of ghost-hunting tools, they set up camp just outside the remnants of the rectory. As dusk fell, the group gathered around a small fire, sharing stories of their own experiences with the paranormal. Clara felt a thrill of excitement and apprehension as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that danced across the ground. It was then that she suggested they hold a seance to try to communicate with the spirits that still haunted the site. With a mixture of enthusiasm and trepidation, the group formed a circle, holding hands and closing their eyes. Clara took a deep breath, calling out to the spirits, inviting them to join them. "If there are any souls present, we welcome you. Please, let us know you are here," she said, her voice steady yet soft. For several moments, nothing happened. The only sounds were the gentle rustling of leaves and the distant hooting of an owl. Just as doubt began to creep into Clara's mind, a chill swept through the air, and a sudden gust of wind snuffed out their fire, plunging them into darkness. Startled, the group gasped, but Clara urged them to remain calm. "Don't be afraid. It's just the wind," she reassured, though she felt a tremor of fear. As their eyes adjusted to the dark, they could see the outlines of each other's faces, wide with astonishment. Then came a soft, ethereal sound, a gentle melodic humming, as if a distant voice was weaving through the night air. Clara's heart raced. "Can you hear that?" she whispered, and the others nodded, their expressions a mix of intrigue and fear. The humming grew louder, enveloping them like a comforting shroud. Clara's instinct told her it was the spirit of the nun, drawn to their call. "If you are here, we wish to speak with you," Clara called out, her voice trembling slightly. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the edge of the ruins, illuminated by a sliver of moonlight breaking through the clouds. It was a woman dressed in a flowing black habit, her face still hidden beneath the hood. Clara's breath caught in her throat as the figure glided closer, seeming to float rather than walk. "Who are you?" Clara asked, her voice barely above a whisper, filled with awe and fear. The figure paused, the humming fading to silence. Slowly, she raised her head, revealing a face that, though shadowed, bore an expression of sorrowful longing. Clara felt an overwhelming urge to reach out, to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. "I am Sister Mary," the figure spoke, her voice echoing softly like a gentle breeze. "I have been waiting for someone to remember." As she spoke, Clara felt a connection, a tether that pulled her closer to the spirit. "What do you want us to know?" she asked, her curiosity mingling with empathy. The figure hesitated, her ethereal form flickering like a candle flame. "There are stories that remain untold, burdens that have not been lifted. You must listen, you must remember," she said, her voice imbued with a sadness that resonated deeply in Clara's heart. "What happened to you?" Clara pressed, sensing that the spirit held the key to understanding the tragic legacy of Borley Rectory. But before Sister Mary could answer, a loud crack echoed through the night, followed by the distant sound of stone shifting. The group turned their heads toward the sound, hearts racing as a palpable tension filled the air. Something was stirring in the ruins, an energy that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Clara knew they had only scratched the surface of the haunting tale of Borley Rectory. The night was far from over, and the secrets of the past were waiting to be revealed, teetering on the edge of darkness and light. "Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story." The crack echoed again, louder this time, and Clara felt the ground tremble slightly beneath her feet. The figure of Sister Mary began to waver, her form flickering like an old film reel struggling to maintain its focus. The air thickened with anticipation as if the very atmosphere was charged with electricity, urging the group to confront whatever was lurking in the shadows of the ruins. "Stay together," Clara urged her companions, tightening her grip on the hands of the people beside her. "We're not alone." As if in response to her words, the temperature around them plummeted, causing a collective gasp among the group. The humming sound returned, but this time it was accompanied by low whispers, muffled voices echoing around them, each one carrying snippets of words that danced just out of reach of comprehension. "Listen," Clara urged, trying to focus. "Do you hear that? It's like they're trying to tell us something." Suddenly, the shadows cast by the ruins began to stretch and twist, forming shapes that darted in and out of view. One shadow loomed larger than the others, a dark figure that seemed to pulse with energy. Clara squinted, straining to see through the gloom. Was it another spirit? Or something darker, perhaps tied to the history of the rectory itself? Sister Mary's ghostly form flickered, the sorrow in her eyes deepening. "You must leave this place," she warned, her voice filled with urgency. "It is not safe. There are forces here that do not wish to be disturbed." "What do you mean?" Clara asked, her voice rising in pitch as fear gripped her heart. "What forces?" Before Sister Mary could respond, the shadows erupted, swirling violently around them. The group stumbled backward, fear taking hold as they tried to shield themselves from the chaos. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices merging into an overwhelming roar. "Find the truth," one voice shouted, piercing through the din. "Release us," another cried, filled with desperation. Clara's mind raced. Was this the truth Sister Mary referred to? The unfinished business of those who had died in the rectory? She turned to her friends, trying to rally them amid the turmoil. "We need to find out what they want," This is a chance to help them. As if in response to her determination, the shadows began to recede, revealing a path that led deeper into the ruins. Clara felt an inexplicable pull towards it, an urge to uncover whatever secrets lay hidden within the walls of Borley Rectory. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, her friends hesitantly following. Each step felt heavy, the air thick with the weight of the spirits watching them. The darkness seemed to shift, guiding them toward a crumbling staircase that spiraled down into the depths of the earth. Clara glanced back at Sister Mary, whose form was now growing faint. "Please, help us," she called out, desperation creeping into her voice. "We want to help you." Sister Mary's expression softened, and for a brief moment, Clara felt a glimmer of hope. "Seek the truth," the nun whispered, "and you shall find peace." With that, Sister Mary faded into the ether, leaving the group standing at the threshold of the staircase. The air was still, a silence that felt almost reverent as they prepared to descend. The whispers from before quieted, replaced by a heavy sense of anticipation. Clara led the way down, the darkness wrapping around them like a shroud. The walls were damp and cold, and the air grew thick with the scent of earth and decay. Flickering the flashlight they had brought, Clara illuminated the walls, revealing inscriptions and markings that seemed to tell a story of their own tales of love, betrayal, and sorrow that had soaked into the very fabric of the place. As they reached the bottom, they found themselves in a dimly lit chamber. The walls were lined with old photographs and documents, remnants of the lives that had once filled the rectory with laughter and grief. Among them, Clara spotted a framed picture of the Bull family, and beside it, an image of a woman in a nun's habit, eerily reminiscent of Sister Mary. But it was the object in the center of the room that caught her attention, a small, ornate chest, intricately carved and seemingly untouched by time. The air around it buzzed with energy, pulsing in a rhythm that mirrored Clara's racing heart. As she approached the chest, the room seemed to respond, vibrating with a low hum that resonated deep within her. With trembling hands, Clara reached for the lid, feeling a connection as if the spirits themselves were urging her on. "What do you think is inside?" one of her friends whispered, their voice a mix of excitement and trepidation. "I don't know," Clara replied, her voice steadying as she gathered her courage. "But I think it's time we found out." With one final breath, she lifted the lid, the hinges creaking in protest as the chest revealed its hidden contents, a collection of letters, old and yellowed, tied with a fraying ribbon. And as she pulled them free, the room around them began to shift, the energy intensifying as the voices of the past surged once more, desperate for their stories to be told. As Clara carefully unwrapped the letters, a rush of cold air swept through the chamber, sending shivers down her spine. The words of the past beckoned, and she felt an almost magnetic pull to read them. Each letter was meticulously penned, the ink faded but the emotions behind them still palpable. The first letter bore the date 1870, the script elegant yet shaky, as if written in a moment of great emotion. Clara began to read aloud, her voice echoing softly in the stillness. "My dearest Agnes, I fear for my safety within these walls. The whispers have grown louder, and shadows seem to follow me. I know you cannot understand, but I believe that there is something trapped here, something that hungers for freedom." As Clara read, her friends gathered closer, their breaths held in anticipation. The mention of whispers and shadows resonated with their own experiences, each word pulling them deeper into the narrative. With each letter Clara unfolded, a story began to take shape, a tale of forbidden love between a young nun and a parishioner named Thomas. They had shared secret meetings in the rectory, but the society in which they lived would never accept their union. The letters detailed their dreams of escape, their longing for freedom, and ultimately, the tragedy that had befallen them. The next letter, dated 1875, was filled with despair. "I cannot bear the weight of this secret any longer. The walls have ears, and I fear that our love will be discovered. I must make a choice, one that will haunt me forever." Clara's heart ached for the two souls entwined in this tragic love story. She glanced at her friends, seeing reflections of shock and empathy on their faces. The energy in the room shifted, and she could sense the spirits closing in, eager for the truth to be uncovered. "Keep going," one of her friends urged, leaning closer, their eyes wide with intrigue. The next letter, a crumpled mess of emotions, revealed the dark turn their story had taken. "They found out, Agnes. I have been accused of unholy acts. I will be forced to leave this place, or worse." The sense of urgency grew, and Clara could almost hear the heartbeat of the past resonating within the walls. Each letter revealed more of their love and the agony of their separation. The final letter, dated just days before the nun's disappearance, sent chills down Clara's spine. "I have decided to flee, to find solace away from this place. If you find this letter, know that I loved you with all my heart, and that I will haunt these halls forever, seeking redemption for what we could not have." The air thickened with a heavy sadness, and Clara felt the weight of the tragedy pressing upon her. They were trying to escape, but something kept them here, she murmured, realizing that the spirits were likely trapped by their unfulfilled love and the societal constraints that had condemned them. Just then, a loud crash echoed from above, shaking the very foundations of the chamber. Clara and her friends jumped, hearts racing. The whispers intensified, transforming into panicked cries that reverberated around them. It was as if the spirits were responding to the disturbance, pleading for the group to understand their plight. "Clara, we need to leave. This feels wrong," one of her friends said, urgency lacing their voice. But Clara hesitated, feeling a deep connection to Sister Mary and the story that had unfolded through the letters. "No, we have to help them. They need us to finish this story," she insisted, determination solidifying in her heart. As if sensing her resolve, the shadows in the room began to coalesce, forming shapes that reached out to them. Clara could feel the weight of their sadness, the longing for release. "We won't abandon you," she shouted into the darkness, her voice echoing with fervor. Suddenly, the room shifted again, the walls vibrating with energy as if responding to her declaration. The letters fluttered in her hands, a gust of wind swirling around them. Clara knew that they were at a pivotal moment. The spirits needed acknowledgement and closure. "Tell us what to do," she cried out, desperation mingling with resolve. "We're here for you." In that moment, the lights flickered, illuminating the chamber, and the spectral figure of Sister Mary appeared once more, her presence more vivid than before. "You have found the truth," she whispered, her voice resonating with gratitude. "Now you must share it. Only then can we find peace." Clara's heart swelled with understanding. The truth of love and loss needed to be told, not just for the spirits but for the living as well. "We will," she vowed, glancing at her friends, who nodded in silent agreement. But before they could act on their promise, the ground trembled violently, and the walls of the chamber began to close in. The energy surged, and the whispers transformed into a deafening roar, pulling them back toward the entrance as the spirits urged them to escape before it was too late. "Go! Now!" Clara shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Together, they sprinted toward the staircase, the shadows reaching out, desperately trying to hold on. Just as they reached the threshold, a blinding light enveloped them, illuminating the path ahead. Clara felt a surge of warmth, a powerful embrace from the spirits that surrounded them. With one final glance back at the chamber, she knew the truth would be revealed, and the souls of Borley Rectory would finally be free. As Clara and her friends burst through the threshold, the light enveloped them, illuminating the path ahead. The chaotic energy that had once swirled around them transformed into a serene warmth, washing over them like a gentle wave. They stumbled out into the cool night air, the oppressive darkness of the chamber lifting as they emerged from the ruins of Borley Rectory. The whispers faded to a soft murmur, replaced by the distant hooting of an owl and the rustling of leaves. Clara felt a profound sense of relief. They had escaped, but more importantly, they had connected with the spirits that lingered. Once safely away from the ruins, Clara gathered her friends. "We have to share their story," she urged, her heart still racing with the night's events. "Their love deserves to be remembered." and maybe that's what will finally free them. Determined, they spent the following weeks piecing together the letters and research, documenting the tragic tale of Sister Mary and her forbidden love. They reached out to local historians, presenting their findings and organizing a community event to honor the spirits of Borley Rectory. On the night of the event, Clara stood before a gathered crowd, illuminated by flickering candlelight. She shared the story of the nuns' love, the struggles they faced, and the bonds that transcended life and death. As she spoke, the air shimmered with energy, a feeling of calm enveloping the room. That night, something extraordinary happened. As the final words left Clara's lips, the atmosphere shifted, and a gentle breeze swept through the venue, whispering like the spirits they had honored. A profound sense of peace washed over everyone present. In the weeks that followed, reports of paranormal activity around the rectory dwindled, and the oppressive weight that had once lingered in the area began to lift. Clara knew in her heart that Sister Mary and the other spirits had found the closure they so desperately sought. As for Clara and her friends, their lives were forever changed. They had forged a deep bond through their shared experience and newfound purpose. The tale of Borley Rectory became a testament to the power of love and remembrance, ensuring that the spirits of the past would not be forgotten. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.